you.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
We are live, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yes, hi to everyone. I am back today as well. Join us again in this interesting lesson. Today is a Wednesday. The lesson that we are having today is lesson number 3 for this week. Yesterday, we learned a lot about paper. That paper was first used in Egypt, and the paper was made from the tree called papyrus. Therefore, the name paper is derived from that papyrus tree. And we also learned that also the Chinese people were using the fabrics, yes, to make the type of paper. Therefore, I also taught you on how the modern technology is used to produce paper. That is what we have done yesterday. And thereafter, we also talked about the things that uses paper, meaning different books, charts, and many more things that are made from paper. So we are continuing today. It is the week of industrialization. We are talking about industries, things that are made in different industries. The focus of this lesson today will be on what we call wool and hides. We are going to talk about wool and hides. Now, to start with, my name is Mr. Ben Budiani. I am the teacher for grade 4 on STEM Lockdown Digital School. With me, I have my host, who is far away from me, by the name of Mr. Gert Kalitz. He's not with me now. He's the one who's connecting me so that I can talk to you. So today's lesson, we are going to focus on the following objectives. Number 1, at the end of this lesson, you must be able to explain the benefits using raw materials provided by animals. You must also be able to explain the methods which is used to process wool and animal hides. Those are the only 2 objectives. Since you know, we only talk about 2 objectives. Now, let me just give a brief outline about the 2 items, animal hides and wool. In actual fact, when we talk about the hide, we're talking about the skin of an animal. When you talk about the wool, we talk about the fiber, the hair that have covered the whole body of an animal. That is a wool. So animal hides and wool are raw materials because they are natural. They are from animals. So I'm going to start with wood. I'm going to start, with wool. That is where I'm going to start. To start with, you must know that wool is from a sheep called merino. Predominantly, a sheep called merino is the sheep that have got quality wool. Also considering other sheep and other animals that also have different types of fabrics that they provide to us. But the most importantly, wool is found in the sheep called merino. So wool is shed once a year from the sheep. The wool is sheared. Sheared means cutting it, like maybe cutting the hair with the clipper, electric clipper, but also wool is cut by a certain instrument is called a shear. It looks like the one used to cut the lawn in the garden. And the other one, which is electric, is called electric clipper, is used to cut using electricity, is the same as the hair clipper, because wool looks nearly like the hair. So this wool is sheared, meaning the wool is cut. It is cut from the sheep. As you can see on the picture, I've got two pictures. The other picture shows the sheep that has been sheared. On the right, sorry, on the left. On the right is still having a lot of hair, so it is not sheared. So when it is sheared, then it looks a bit thinner. When it is not sheared, it is big, as if it have got a lot of meat, only to find that it only contained more wool. That is where we find the wool. Then one piece of wool is called a fleece. As you can see here on this slide, I have a fleece of wool at the bottom. At the bottom, you can see there is a fleece of wool. Here is a fleece of wool. This one is unsheared sheep. This one is sheared sheep. This is electric clipper. This is a shear. This is all about this slide. Basically, it is informing us that wool is from merino sheep and it should be sheared first before you can get it. Now, when we move forward, we are going to check the properties of wool. Why wool is very important to us. Now we must first focus on the properties. Wool has high specific heat resistance. Now the wool, if you near the hot places or you are exposed to heat, it can prevent you from getting heated. Meaning if you wear something that is made from wool, even if you touch hot surfaces, you might not feel the heat because the wool will be protecting you. Heat resistant means it does not allow heat to move through it. Number two, wool is stain resistant. It does not get dirty easily. When you are having something made from wood, wool can just be easily cleaned. Number three, it keeps you warm in winter and cool in summer. It keeps you warm in winter. This one is obvious because wool, as you see, it is fluffy. Then it also can keep you cool in summer. It can insulate. It can insulate when it is wet, meaning it can prevent you from getting heated when you wetten it. Those are the properties of wool. That is why among all the animals, we choose wool from the sheep because of the special properties it has. Now, let's go forward and find out how wool is processed in fabrics. Now, before we know about processing of wool, we must know that wool is processed in a place called textile mill. Yesterday, we talked about oil refinery. Today we talk about textile mill. Textile mill is the place where wool is processed. So what happens in the textile mill? Number A, the first point is that the fleece, you remember I said wool is sheared. It is cut from the sheep. Now, when it is cut, we call it the fleece. We no longer call it wool, we call it the fleece. So the fleece are sent to a textile mill to be cleaned and processed. So in the textile mill, the wool fibers are combed into flat mat, like you combing the hair. It is combed into a flat mat. Then when it is combed, then it gets straightened, like it becomes a bit straight. Then it's then sent to a spun. The spun is something that turns around. It spins around. It's the opposite of spun. It's turn around to form the threads, meaning the combed mat of wool is then spun to form long threads. And these threads that have been formed can be woven into fabrics. Charger compute can be woven in fabrics, different fabrics, or it can be placed in balls. It can just be rolled in balls. As you can see, there are wools that have not been processed into clothes, but already woven into balls only. Yes. Now, that is all about wool properties and where wool is processed. I repeat again, I said properties of wool is that it has high specific heat resistance. It does not allow heat to travel through it easily. It is stain resistant. It does not get dirty easily. Number 3, it can keep you warm in winter and cool in summer. Number 3, it insulates even when wet. Then I also talked about how it is processed. Number A, fleeces are sent to a textile mill. Number B, wool fibers combed in flat mat. Number C, then sent to be spun. Number D, threads are wound, yes, into fabric, and woven into fabric or wound into balls. So now let's see the picture that shows this process. Here is the picture. As you can see on the picture, this person is shearing this sheep to remove what you call the fleece, because it is now going to be called fleece after it is being sheared. Then these are the bales. These are the bales. They are cleaned, then transported to the mill. You remember the place where the wool is processed is the mill. In the mill, you see this thing? Now it is combed. It is combed so that it do what? It forms long threads. It forms a bit long threads. Then here is the spun. Now, when it is spun, then it becomes a what? A thread. It becomes a thread of wool. Then is spun. Now it is going to be taken to further people who do textiles, meaning people who work with clothes, so that they can make different types of clothes and different types of products using this end product of the wool. So from here, it is not yet ready to be worn. It is not yet ready to be dressed. It still have to go further. Now, let me come to the next slide. Yes. Now in this slide, as you can see here, we are having different properties, products of wool. You can see the products of wool in front of you. Firstly, let's start with your shoes. You know those fluffy shoes, very nice shoes you wear when you wake up in the morning. The morning slippers. Most of them are made from wool. They are very soft. Yes, more especially baby clothes. They use natural wool to make them. That's why most of them are expensive. Now you come to jackets. These jackets are very expensive. Then blankets. Now, the important thing is that the firefighter jacket, this firefighter jacket, it is made from wool because wool is fire resistant. Firefighters work in flammable places or hot areas. So when they're exposed to the heat or the fire, they cannot burn because of this is made from wool, and wool is fire resistant. Now you come to the bank notes. Bank notes made from wool. Remember, I told you one of the products used here to make this thing is that the material is used is also wool contained in manufacturing of the paper used to make money. I mean, the banknote. Now you come to the plain seats and the mat. The plain mat and the seats, normally they use this wool because it's very soft. It is also fire resistant and very strong. So I've indicated to you that the properties are very important when it comes to any material. When you produce any material, you must consider the property. That is why wool is chosen in this regard. Now I'm coming to the next part. I'm finished with the wool part. Now I come with another part. Now this part talks about animal hide. Animal hide. Animal hide is the animal skin, meaning the skin of this animal, when it is removed, is then called hide. It is no longer called the skin. It is the skin. When it is still here, it is the skin. But after it is being removed from the animal, meaning animals are slaughtered to be eaten. And this, the whole covering part, meaning the skin, then it is then called hide when it is removed. As you can see here, it's an example of the hide. This is untreated hide. Now, after being treated, these hides are called leather. Remember, it was the skin, then it became the hide when it was removed from the animal, then it is now the leather after being treated. When they treat it, it changes the name. So now, it is used for many things. There are many things that use this leather. We can first come to the couches, the comfortable couches you sit with at home, the baseball, even the soft balls is made, even the shoes, expensive shoes that are worn by different sportsmen, the sports boots. not the Fong Kongs. I don't mean the plastic ones. I mean the strong ones. The balls, not the ones, not the plastic balls, referring to the one made from leather, the genuine quality ones for netball and football. Mostly they are made from leather. Imagine it is no longer called hide, it is now called leather. They are made from leather. Now, we come to the next slide to find out how it is processed. But before we go there, let us come to the checkpoint so that I check if you do understand what we did. Yes. Question 1 on the checkpoint is that are animal hides raw, processed or processed materials? Are animal hides raw or processed materials? Is a question I am raising to you. You must be able to know whether a hide is a processed material or unprocessed material. Now, number B, what is the process called when they cut wool off the sheep? You remember there is a process we use when we cut the wool off the sheep. There is that name. You remember I've shown you the machine used to do it. Then number C, what is hide called after being treated? I just talked about it. After being treated, what do we call it? Number D, what do we call, I don't see it correctly here. What do we call on? I don't see it correctly. Something is covering it here. It's a question, it's a very important question. I must ask you that question. What do we call one piece of wool? Yeah, I have the paper here. What do we call one piece of wool? Those are the 4 questions you must be able to answer. If you can answer those 4 questions, it means you are following us very well. Now let's move to the next part of the lesson. Now, on the next part of the lesson, we are going to talk about how the hides are treated. How the hides are treated or are processed. In this slide, I'm going to tell you about a treatment of animal hide. So animal hide are processed at a place called tannery. It's a different place from the one where the wool is treated, which is a mill. Now hides are treated at a tannery. And these hides are soaked in chemicals. More especially, the hide becomes very hard. After being removed from the animal is soft, then it gets hardened if you don't put it in the water. But in the tannery, it is soaked inside the chemicals to remove all the hair. Remember, it is soaked in the chemicals, then so that the hair can be removed, then treated to preserve them. The meaning, when they are inside the chemicals, that chemical makes sure that the hair on the skin or the hide is removed, then is then preserved. Meaning, you know, it's an animal. Remember, it is meat. Then if meat can remain meat, then you'll have a problem. The worms and the germs will keep on coming. So these chemicals make sure that the germs are eliminated. The word preserve means it can be kept without germs. It can be kept for a longer period. So that is the function of those chemicals. Now, number 2, to produce colored leather, the hides are placed in hot water. They are placed inside the hot water. And in the hot water, the colors are added. Other colors are added. If you want the black color, it will become black. If you want the white color, it will become white. As you can see, we've got different types of leather. It's not only one color, but different colors. So that is what happens in the tannery. Now it is now the skin, because it also has the color. Then the hides are then dried. It is now the leather. It is no longer the hide when it is dry. You know, this process is very long. The again is that you have to slaughter an animal, meaning things made from leather should be expensive things, because it's a long process. And then the other thing is that it is a natural material that is being used. Then to raise an animal and can slaughter it for the hide, it must be a long time to wait. So that is why things made from animal leather are very expensive. Now let me come to the next slide. On this slide, I'm going to ask you a question. Before we get to the question, let me start dealing with the products made from the hides. Do you see this couch is very nice, very expensive? Yes, it's made from leather. Don't confuse it with the synthetic plastics that are used, because there are others that look alike, but the leather one is different from them because this one is durable and very expensive, since I've said it. Now this is a drum. Mostly in Africa, animal hides were used for clothing and also to making the drums. As you can see, this drum is made from the animal skin. Now we come to the other products. Here you can see the jacket, the leather jacket, and belts, bags, wallets, boots, shoes, vanity case, lot of other products, and even the ones that are not here, but made from leather. They are products of leather as well. So those are the products of leather or hides. Now, I'm coming to another part where I'm going to ask you another question. And this is an activity. This activity, you have to complete the information you know about wool and hides. On the first column, those are the statements you must answer on the column for the sheep and the column for the cow. So complete information you know about wool and hides. Now the first statement on the first column. This statement, animal is left alive, yes or no? We come to a sheep. After taking the wool from the sheep, do we leave the wool, the sheep alive, or do we kill the sheep? We come to the cow. If you need hide from the cow, do we have to kill it or we leave it alive? Here you only indicate yes and no. yes and no on the first row, this row. Yes or no here. Now the second row is that raw material. What do we call the raw material of the sheep? Yeah. When it is still raw, what do we call it? Meaning when it is not processed, that particular thing, what do we call it? Now, on the cow, what do we call that thing we remove from the cow when we, before we can process it? There must be the name. Now, on the third row, we have the factory name for processing. For the sheep, there is the name of the factory. And for the cow, there is the name for the factory. Now, on the fourth one, I want to know the product once it is treated. After being treated, what do we call the product on the sheep? What do we call the product here on the cow? Yes, a product manufactured with it. What do we call the product that is manufactured with it? The product. Now, here you are still at the factory here. The product once it is treated, and now the product manufactured with it, meaning using this thing to make this product, or using that thing to make that product. One example of that product. That is what I want you to answer. But let me help you a bit. Number one, on the sheep part, animal is left alive, yes or no? Yes, the sheep is left alive because we only need the wool, then we leave it alive. Then we come to the cow. Do we leave it alive? No, we have to slaughter it in order to get the skin. Now the raw material. What do we call the raw material here when it is not yet processed? You remember I talked about it. That is a what? It's a fleece. Yes, the wool is called a fleece. Now on the other part, the cow, when it is not processed, you remember what we call it is hide. Hide. It is not processed. We still call it hide. Then the factory name for processing the sheep fleece. Where do we call that? Is the textile mill. The textile mill. Now, on the cow part, yes, now we also need to know the name of the factory. We call it a tannery, this place where it is treated. Now, once the product is treated here, what do we call it on the part of the sheep? What do we call that particular thing? Yes, when it is spun, you remember the wool fibers are combed. Then they form threads. They form threads, wool threads. When they are treated, they form wool threads. Now, on the cow part, what do they form? It forms leather. Yes, it was hide, then it formed leather once it is treated. Now, a product manufactured with it is what? On the sheep part, I talked about a lot of things. Yes, ranging from the soft shoes, slippers, the jackets, more importantly, the firefighter's jacket. Yes, because it is heat resistant. Now we come to the leather. The leather, a lot of things, the bags, the shoes, the couches, many more things that use the leather. Those are my questions. So if you do not understand, yes. Now I'm coming to checkpoint number 2. I'm a bit out of time. We have to hurry a bit. Now, these are the questions I normally ask after having taught you for the second time. In this part, I want you to answer, to check your understanding on the actual content that you should know. Number A, what happens when wool is spun? When wool is spun, what happens? When we spin it, what does it make? Number B, mention examples of materials made from wool. It must be the same as the other question there, but it's important for me to ask this question. You must mention those materials made from wool. Then number C, how is hair removed from hide at a tannery? How is the hair removed? You remember they also make sure that it is preserved as well, but they also remove the hair. How is it removed? Now, mention examples of materials made from wool and leather. Because we have already mentioned from wool, okay, here you can only mention, number D, you can only mention materials made from leather. It's the same as the previous exercise. Now, we are about to finish our lesson of today. But before we finish the lesson of today, I want you to know that if you need further information, you can check on this YouTube address. There is a video where you are going to learn about how it's made into wool. And the second one, you can also check another video appearing on your slide, that how is leather processed, is how it's made, is leather. Those two videos are very important. You are going to learn a lot about them. Now we can come back to our objectives and check the objectives of today, if we really met our objectives, and see if you really understood. Because it's very important for us, after having gone through the lesson, and go and check whether you do understand or whether we met our objectives. Now, at the beginning, I said you must be able to explain the benefits of using raw materials provided by animals. Can you explain the benefits of using raw materials provided by animals? If you can answer that statement, if you can explain, then it means we have met our objectives. Now, number 2, explain the method which is used to process wool and animal hides. Even here, if you can explain the method used to process wool and animal hides, you have met our objectives, which is very simple. Meaning, at your spare time, make time to do the task that I gave you, that activity that I gave you, so that at the end of the week, on Friday, when you write a test, then you do understand and then you are not lost. So if you don't follow these lessons, you are going to lose out. And please make sure that when we have finished with our lesson, go back to your textbook, a learner's book, and look for term 2, where they talk about wool and leather or wool and hides. then so that you learn further about this part that we have done. So for today, that is all from me. And then I would like to thank you for having concentrated and for having taken part in this lesson. It was a bit lengthy lesson, but I hope you understood very well. Because this video will be recorded, if you don't understand, you can quickly go back and check again and revise what we have done so that you understand better. And thank you again for being part of us. And thank you to the parents who are helping their children to access education even during lockdown. I also thank the learners for their patience and making sure that they honor their the efforts that the parents have given to them, and they continue to learn even when it is difficult. So please read your books, don't play on the streets, never go outside. As you know, when I close, I say I love you all and then keep well, stay at home, and thank you very much. And then I would also like to thank my host, Mr. Khalid Ket, who is far away from me. I'm in Limpopo. He is far away, somewhere maybe Johannesburg. But thank you very much, Mr. Khalid, for being with me throughout. And then as we are busy continuing with our lessons, I would also like to special thank you to your family for understanding, because we do these things at our homes. We are unable to travel and it's a bit difficult, but technology can make us to meet each other. And thank you very much today, Mr. Khalid. And that is the end of today's lessons. Hello?